this. Um, I just wanted to kind of chat to everyone about the March Madness, but if you guys want to talk about other stuff, good at that as well. Um, Interesting tournament. Maybe by far the craziest tournament I think I've ever seen. I can't remember a March Madness tournament that featured so many evenly matched teams, as well as so many just outright upsets. And I'm not talking about just winning the game. I'm talking about these teams beating the teams that are supposed to be better than them, and like beating them handily for the whole game. I've seen this a few times now. I think there's some stuff that goes into it. Biggest thing is the transfer portal. The transfer portal definitely adjusted a way the blue bloods can dominate. Right, the transfer portal has made it to where the smaller schools, especially in college basketball, can really compete now, because these guys that the big blue chip schools like Kentucky and Duke and Kansas used to keep on the bench and not play till they were juniors and seniors, those guys are all going to these smaller schools like your FAUs and the schools like that. So we're seeing, bracket busters for sure. We're seeing the culmination of it, I believe. The culmination of the transfer portal affecting college basketball. I do think we saw it some in the year during the season, but more so in the tournament when you're going to get these matchups, right? You're going to get these FDUs playing Purdue. Guys, FDU, however you say, Dickinson School, they were really good. They lost last night to FAU, but they were a really good 16 seed. Like, I hadn't really seen them all year long, but when I watched them play, I was like, oh my God, these guys are good, but they're undersized. And so, but when you heard these schools, you heard who was on their team. It was a transfer from here, a transfer from here, a transfer from here. And that's what it was, is these teams are cherry picking these guys that are on the bench at these other schools. And this is going to go on. This is going to keep happening. And this is going to spill into college football even more than it already has. So far, it's really only affected the quarterback rooms in college football, in my opinion. But it's going to start affecting every skill position, all the depth. So I do think we're going to start seeing some different teams come out of college football even. Some smaller schools that are able to, pluck some players away from your big blue blood schools. But anyways, it's interesting. It's just an interesting thing to me. My biggest surprises. Hey, awesome, George, in Las Vegas. I love that. Believe it or not, guys, I'm driving home. I'm actually driving home from the casino right now. I was at the casino doing casino things, working on some stuff, maybe for the future. I hate saying it on here because every time I've said it on here, I haven't been able to make it happen. But I was working on some more stuff, played some craps. I had one of those out-of-pocket experiences at the craps table where all my chips came out of my pocket and didn't come back. So not an out-of-body experience, an out-of-pocket experience. Now, I did not spend a lot of money. I spent just enough money to get in front of some people that I wanted to talk to. handed out a bunch of my cards and different things. I'm working on something that I can put together. But what I'm working on is I'm trying to make a real craps tournament, a real legitimate craps tournament that isn't played like a slot tournament. All the craps tournaments I've ever seen have been played like slot tournaments. And that is not the correct way to play a craps tournament, in my opinion. But I'm trying to get one of these casinos to trust me when I tell them that I have the ability to bring in at least 100 players with literally a series of videos. I mean, I could bring 100 players, I guarantee it, to a craps tournament with a $500 buy-in. I don't even think I'd have to try that hard. So I'm trying to get one of these casinos to facilitate it the way I want, because I want it to be played like a poker tournament, where it's really simple. Instead of the blind structure, we just make the minimum go up, right? And that'll drive the action of the table. So people just can't sit there, and you just make, everyone has to make a minimum bet on every shooter, and eventually, you'll have a winner, and it can work like a final table and everything. And so that's kind of my goals, what I'm trying to build toward. I've already fleshed out all the rules. I've had some help with that. 100 players is optimistic, George. Believe it or not, I actually think that's kind of low. I think that with a handful of phone calls and a couple of videos, I could probably get more than 100. I actually don't think it'd be all that difficult. Especially right here in Memphis. See, I'm hoping this Memphis casino, it's all brand new, and they have 6 craps tables. 6. And now some of them are crapsless, so they wouldn't work, and they have the ATS on them and everything. And they're like 10-foot tables. Just awesome. Just an awesome place at the new Southland Gaming Casino, guys. It's a very, very good. Well, see, my thing is I figured we could do it in 2 flights, because I don't think I'm ever going to get enough. The problem is the dealers. So this is the problem, is the dealers. This is what I've been told at the other places I've talked to. It's the dealers. It's getting enough dealers in place for a tournament, because none of these casinos have 10 tables worth of craps dealers. None of them. So if it's not in Vegas where they could facilitate that, it's probably not real. But even in Vegas, if you look around in Vegas, you're not finding casinos with 10 craps tables open. It's not even there. So I'm trying to facilitate it. So it would probably have to be done in flights where where there's like a first flight and a second flight, or even a third flight. But that's fine as far as the game goes, because you could structure the table going up after every orbit, and that's the way I think it should be done. So you start at whatever, $5, $10, $25, whatever, doesn't matter, because it's all just dependent on how many chips they would give us, or we would work out as the plan. My thoughts were the buy-in. This is my thoughts. I'm going to run this by you guys. There's 5 people in here listening to me. The buy-in, I figured would be 500, but then it would be the total buy-in is actually going to be 600, because that's $50 juice to the casino, and then a $50 guaranteed gratuity to the casino from each player to the dealers. That way they're going to be able to get these dealers to agree to it, because this is going to be a good chunk of a day, right? It's not going to take all day, because the blind structure, it could go on orbit easily. If a bunch of guys only shot 3 or 4 shots, one orbit could go around in minutes. If one guy shot forever, one orbit could take a long time. But That's kind of the thought process I have on it, is that if there's some guaranteed money for the dealers involved in the situation, I think it would be a little easier to sell to them. The problem is, again, that these casino managers and these gaming managers are telling me it's just the availability of the dealers. It's not so much that they would or wouldn't do the tournament. It's that they just don't have the people. And so that's kind of been my trick. I've had other places think it was a great idea, but not pull the trigger because of the people. But see, I'm trying to I'm trying to get one of these places to accommodate the whole thing as well. So where they're giving hotel rooms and buffet vouchers and all that. I'm trying to get them to, even if it costs something, to give a good discount on that or whatever. I'm just trying to get as much as I can per chat with these people. But again, like I said, it's mostly the stopping point so far has just been the amount of dealers more than anything. Because believe it or not, to get casinos to give you stuff like rooms and buffets is actually not all that difficult. It's really about how you go about it. That's actually not all that difficult. And the casinos, from what I'm noticing, are getting a lot more friendly to the YouTube community and a lot more open to YouTubers and the exposure that YouTube helps them with. Because like today, when I was in there, I was really early in the morning, but I was there at like 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and they still had felted craps tables open at 4:30 in the morning on a Monday morning. Now this is right outside of Memphis; it's just right across the river, but that's amazing. And there was players at them, so the craps community in this area is actually really good. In fact, I'd be willing to say the craps community in the Memphis area is as strong as anywhere, because it's just such a popular game in this area. But again, that's my goal. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get something set up where there's an actual like craps championship type thing, craps tournament type thing, like poker, because craps and poker, as far as gameplay goes, are very similar. It's a round table with spots, and there's essentially minimum bets. I mean, it's very similar. So, but that's where I'm going with that. I'm trying to get that done. Hopefully it does get done sometime this year, I hope. I tried all last year. Didn't really work. I could never get anyone to agree to anything. And again, like I said, all of it was based on these managers. Like, I just can't pull the dealers together because, they're not going to shut the casino down for this. So they still got to have their other tables full, and they're still going to, have to fill this up with dealers. And that's been the problem, because it really has. That's been the whole issue. So, but I mean, I had a whole structure of, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of, if they could do 4 tables, we could make it work as craps players, right? We could make it either speed up the structure. Yeah, the dealer schools, maybe that would be cool if they could help. But you could speed up the structure, or what you could do would be like, if you're not speed up the blind structure, what you could do is you could just make the starting chip count smaller, right? So you just have less to start with, kind of like a turbo or something. Yeah, that's, in the structure, in the betting that posed and everything, it's all proper bets. Everything would be proper. There'd be no improper anything. That way that we kind of avoid that problem. But I got a good plan. It's not the plan that's the problem. I've been fleshing out this plan for a long time. The problem is that these casinos, they just can't put enough people together. But again, this is the first time I've talked to Memphis about it, and they were pretty open to it. They mentioned something about the people, but they didn't outright say it just couldn't happen. They were like, the manager there said he would have to get back to me on it. So hopefully I get a call from this guy, and it's going to be a good answer, because I haven't had a good answer yet. But again, I'm working on this. I just think it'd be so cool to have this. Just the YouTube community alone, I think could provide 100 players. Just the YouTube community. That's not even any of the other just regular players that don't do YouTube, or aren't part of the YouTube world. And that's one of the things that I think really does facilitate the ability to create the players and the amount of money. When I told them at the Memphis place, when I told them that I could get 100 players at a $500 buy-in, they went, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I think it'd be no problem." How are you, Tony? Yeah, they were surprised when I said that, and I said, I don't even think I would have that big of a problem with it. Guys, I've had a few meetups where all I did was just, tell a few people, and I've had 12 people just by just telling a few people that all bought in for more than $500. So, yeah, spring is around the corner. But that's just, I don't know, it's just one of those deals where I'm trying to make this happen. I really want it to happen. I've been working on it so long now. I've actually put probably too much effort into it and not enough effort into some other parts of this. But I just really want this to be a thing. And because I want also there to be a separate shooting competition involved, where each player gets to take a shot with the dice and see how many times they can roll. And, like a shooting tournament as well, involved for, I don't know, whatever, another $100 buy-in or whatever. It's kind of separate, and have like some kind of trophy for each one where it's unique to it. And I have some plans for all that. But again, none of that matters until I get a place, right? Until I got a spot, none of that other stuff matters. But that's kind of the plan. That's what I'm hoping happens. Now, as far as the other stuff goes, the casino was great. Hey, look. 0 to hero. How are you? But as far as the other stuff, casino, like I said, today I had an out-of-pocket experience, which means I lost the chips that I bought. I did not gain chips. I lost them. Like I said, I didn't invest that much. I was just trying to get talking to people, and that's kind of how it went. Believe it or not, today, unlike most days, I don't think I really ever profited. Part of it was that I was doing a lot of chit-chatting and I wasn't doing a lot of focus. But the other part of it was that I just lost. That's another part of it. I was playing $50 don't bets, and I can only really even remember one sequence of dice. Went 11, 7, 6, 6. And I was on the don't for $50. So that was $150 right there. That was one sequence of dice. And like I said, I didn't buy in for very much because I was just there to talk, and mostly and get my face in front of these people. And you see, that's the thing. That's one thing I've learned too, is that you want to do this stuff really early in the morning. And the reason you want to do that is because they're not busy, and you can get time to talk to them. If you're not able to set up an actual appointment, or if you're not going that route. But no, it was a very fast couple $100 bills that just went up into smoky. But again, like I said, and I handed out a bunch of my cards and just different things. It wasn't a total loss, but it definitely cost me to get the audience. But again, hey, if it gets it done, it gets it done. I'll be happy. Other than that, I don't know if you guys have been watching March Madness. This is the most madness I've ever seen. And it's not the big upsets. The 16 beating the 1. Purdue was a very shaky one, in my opinion. And this FDU team was much better than their record. It's the teams that are supposed to be better that are getting dominated by teams that are perceived as worse in games. Dominated. And I'm not saying just losing on buzzer beaters. These guys are getting beat from whistle to whistle, from the beginning to the end. Hello, OPS. So that's one of the things I'm just like, wow, this is the craziest tournament I've ever seen. Again, none of the traditional trends in the NCAA tournament are profitable this year, by the way. Besides taking all the points, I think that one might be profitable right now. But some of the traditional trends, betting the best guards, different things like that, right now, them are not profitable. They are not. Transfer portal absolutely has created this. And it's not bad. It's not a bad thing for college football. The transfer portal is absolutely, this is college basketball, sorry. Any college sport, the transfer portal evens the playing field. It makes it so you can't have one single team or even one single conference just dominate. Because these smaller teams are able to offer these starting positions now, and the transfer portal allows the player to just move and play. Where, they used to have the sit out. Yeah, we almost hit the plus 800 FDU last night. That would have been cool. I had to take a flyer on them, right? Because, hell, they almost got that done. FAU is a solid basketball team. It's a bunch of older players. They are really good. But the one that surprised me the most yesterday, guys, the one that surprised Jacob was the way Creighton shot the ball on Baylor. They didn't miss. It seemed like they went a stretch in that game where no matter what they put up, it went in. And Baylor was one of my favorite kind of Final Four type picks because they play with 3 guards, right? And their guards played well or well enough yesterday. But if you have a team that's just going to shoot that well, they're not going to lose, right? No matter which team it is. If you're going to have that kind of shooting day, you're just not going to lose. So that one was the most surprising to me. As far as, not that Baylor lost, but the way it happened. Just how crazy of the shooting that we saw from Creighton. And they're a good shooting team. One of the other ones, the Xavier comeback was cool. They did really well. My Razorbacks, the Arkansas team, they skated by Kansas. Believe it or not, I don't really think Arkansas beat Kansas. I think Kansas more beat themselves as opposed to Arkansas beating them. But, and I had a future on Kansas, so that sucked to lose that. But, hey, at least my team's in there. And, of course, I put a little flyer bet on them to win it all. Arkansas homer bet. Arkansas plays UConn this coming weekend. That's actually going to be a really good game. That's a very good matchup. See which team is tougher. It's going to be a good one. But, yeah, it's just interesting March. And this is a good eye-opener for next March and the Marches after with this transfer portal. So what it does is it puts a lot of value on the point spreads, right? So it's very similar to the NFL, where the point spreads in the NFL have way more value than in college football, right? So college football, the point spreads are diluted somewhat. And let me explain what I mean by this. So the best team in college football versus the worst team is probably about 60 points, right? 60 points separates them. The best team versus the worst team in the NFL is probably about 21. All right, roughly in that range. So the points in pro football are so much more valuable than they are in college. That's why when people take big underdogs in college, I always kind of like shake my head a little bit, because you're obviously taking the weaker team by a significant margin. They're weaker. So if you're willing to take all those points, and you're willing to say, basically what you're willing to say is that the better team will let up. And that, to me, gambling with that mindset doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Relying on the better team to let up. So I don't take a lot of the big point spreads in college. Usually I kind of take spreads that are more like the NFL, and I try to stick to the teams that are closer matched. But that's just what I'm referring to, is that the point spreads are starting to matter more in college basketball. Especially this year was one of the best I've ever seen as far as the point spreads mattering. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen it that amazing as far as underdogs and home teams winning when they're not the better team. That was another thing this year, where home teams were just on fire. And not that home teams shouldn't win, but when you're not the better team, a lot of times in college basketball, the home teams still lose. But it wasn't that case this year. Like, it was much, much more home friendly, no matter which team it was. So I was pretty amazed by that, as well as far as the regular season. But again, traditional trends in March Madness that have been absolute money makers in the past are all in the red this year. Like, as far as all the ones I keep up with, they're in the red this year, bad. And it's not necessarily the big upsets. It's that the teams that are more evenly matched, the team that isn't perceived as the better team is losing, or is winning. Sorry. The weaker team keeps winning outright, not just covering, winning outright, which is very, very different. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to chat with you guys when I was driving home from the casino. I'm going to let you guys go because it's starting to get more busy out here. Anyways, y'all have a great day.